The allegation that players on the New Orleans Saints were paid money for hitting players with such brutal force it knocked them out of games.
The NFL, once the proud beacon of Sunday glory, now it's more like a slow-motion reality show with an occasional touchdown thrown in.
Today, our partners at Yahoo Sports uncovered a recording, and on it, a New Orleans coach graphically telling players to inflict injuries in a big playoff game.
They used to call it America's Game, but these days, it's more America's soap opera. The drama, the scandals, Wait, is there still a game happening in there somewhere? Back in the day, the NFL was all about the legends. Joe Montana slinging passes, Walter Payton bulldozing defenses, Jerry Rice catching literally everything, and Lawrence Taylor terrifying quarterbacks into early retirement. You just didn't watch them, you knew them. They were larger than life, but now, the league feels like a never-ending shuffle on Madden's franchise mode. Players come and go so fast, you'd think they're on loan from some European soccer club. Loyalty seems like a thing of the past. Free agency turned it into a league of mercenaries, one big game of who wants the biggest contract. And don't even get us started on the rivalries. Packers versus Bears? Cowboys versus 49ers? Those were blood feuds. Players hated each other, fans hated each other, and it was glorious. Now, rivalries don't feel authentic at all. Chefs versus Bengals? Sure, the NFL tries to hype it up, but when the players are swapping jerseys and giggling on Instagram post-game, it's hard to feel the same fire. Bring back the brawls, the trash talk, the actual stakes. Even the stadiums have lost their edge. They're shiny and state-of-the-art, sure, but where's the grit? The personality? It's all corporate lounges and overpriced nachos now. And the fans, they're too busy checking fancy football scores and live tweeting every play to actually watch the game. And let's not forget the Super Bowl, once the pinnacle of football, now just a 4-hour excuse for Pepsi and Doritos to fight for screen time. The halftime show is more plot twist than the game, and the commercials are the real MVPs. The actual sport feels like a footnote sandwich between a CGI alien selling insurance and whatever pop star is lip-syncing that ear. And looming over it all is Roger Goodell, the NFL's very own corporate mascot.
You start with the fact that we have a very high standard for our own conduct, the way we handle things, and we didn't meet that standard.
His superpower? Making billions while somehow managing to duck accountability for everything. Controversies, scandals, bad calls, you name it.
The NFL is in the news tonight, bombarded for months with bad news, negative headlines.
Goodell's there with a shrug and a next question.
A new Bloomberg poll shows a full 50% of Americans would not want their sons playing the game. That's a big bad bellwether number for a sport that depends on the youth leagues of today to fill in the big leagues of tomorrow.
Under his watch, the league feels more like a Wall Street portfolio than a sports organization. So yeah, the NFL isn't what it used to be. Over the years, there has been enough drama to fill a soap opera, but we'll try to cram it into one video because we're generous like that. Spoiler alert, the league's crisis management skills often rival those of a toddler with a crayon and a white wall. Let's take it all the way back to 1925. The NFL was in its infancy, still trying to prove it wasn't just rugby's awkward cousin. Enter the Pottsville Maroons, a team crushing it with a 10-2 record, but then they made the ultimate rookie mistake, playing an exhibition game in Philadelphia, the Eagles' territory. As a result, the league stripped them off their title, proving that territorial drama isn't just for real housewives. To this day, people argue about whether Pottsville got a raw deal, but the Maroons are long gone, so maybe case closed? Fast forward to the 1960s, an era of shiny football helmets and players who were basically treated like gods. But surprise, even gods have flaws. In 1963, NFL stars Paul Hornung and Alex Karras were caught betting on games. Hornung was an MVP and Karras was a defensive beast, but they weren't smart enough to realize that not betting on your own league is like rule number 1. Suspended for a year, they became the league's poster boys for Don't Gamble, Kids. Then came Art Schlichter in the 1980s, a Colts quarterback who really liked gambling. While everyone else was betting on Schlichter to throw touchdowns, he was betting on pretty much everything. The league suspended him for the entire 1983 season, but by then, his finances dried up and his career became less about football and more about how not to handle money. Oh, But the drama doesn't stop at gambling. Let's jump to 1990 and the NFL's moment of enlightenment about workplace harassment, or rather, its lack thereof. Lisa Olson, a Boston Herald reporter, was trying to do her job in the Patriots locker room when players decided to harass her instead of asking questions.
Recently, it was reported that Boston Herald sports reporter Lisa Olson was sexually harassed in the locker room of the New England Patriots.
Fines were handed out, but the league's image took a big hit. And who could forget the Vikings' 2005 Love Boat scandal? It sounds like the title of a bad rom-com, but nope, it was a real thing. Players decided to turn a boat into a floating, well, let's just say it wasn't exactly a Bible study group. Strippers, illicit activities, and a whole lot of bad press made sure the league's family-friendly facade took a long swim in Lake Scandal. Then there's 2007's Spygate, when the New England Patriots decided the best way to stay ahead of their opponents was to literally watch their every move.
It was one of the biggest stories in sports. The New England Patriots caught videotaping a rival team's coaches as they sent signals to their players.
Videotaping opposing coaches' signals? Bold. Illegal? Very.
The NFL kicks off a new season tomorrow night, facing brand new allegations of cheating by the New England Patriots. ESPN claims the team's so-called Spygate scandal was far more extensive than originally reported, and it directly affected how NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell responded to charges the Patriots deliberately deflated game balls.
Bill Belichick got slapped with a $500,000 fine, and the team lost a first-round draft pick. But hey, they still have all those Super Bowl rings, so it's not like the Patriots are crying about it. Next up, we have the 2012's gem, Bountygate. The New Orleans Saints decided to channel their inner mob boss with a bounty program where players got paid to injure their opponents. This wasn't just about winning games, it was a full-blown Hunger Games scenario on the field. The NFL tried to act shocked while everyone else went, you've been glamorizing bone-crunching hits for decades. Then came 2013 when the NFL veered into true crime territory with Aaron Hernandez. The New England Patriots tight end was charged with the first-degree murder of Odin Lloyd, a chilling story that read more like an HBO drama than a sports headline.
Is the defendant not guilty? Guilty of murder in the first degree or guilty of murder in the second degree?
Guilty of murder in the first degree.
Aaron Hernandez is about to complete a twisted journey from the Super Bowl to prison by the age of 25. Today, the former New England Patriots tight end was found guilty of first-degree murder and was quickly sentenced to life without parole. Anna Werner's following the case.
The league claimed ignorance, but the warning signs were there if anyone bothered to see. The league is notorious for its look-the-other-way culture. Next up, Ray Rice, 2014.
Ray Rice, fired by the Baltimore Ravens, and the NFL has suspended him from playing after the release of a new shocking videotape.
In one of the NFL's most infamous scandals, Rice was caught in video assaulting his fiancée in an elevator, and the league's initial response? A 2-game suspension. Because apparently in NFL math, domestic violence is about as bad as a poorly tied shoelace. When the public saw the tape and lost their collective minds, the league scrambled to issue a permanent suspension, but by then, the damage was done. And just when you thought New England scandals were done, Deflategate floated into scene in 2015.
Charges the Patriots deliberately deflated game balls.
The bombshell report by ESPN's Outside the Lines alleges Deflategate and Spygate were linked, and Roger Goodell was the man in the middle.
The Patriots were accused of deflating footballs during the AFC Championship game, and it turned into a full-blown media circus. Tom Brady got suspended for 4 games, the Patriots lost a first-round draft pick, and everyone had opinions about air pressure for months. Meanwhile, the rest of us were left wondering, how is this balloon drama a bigger deal than actual crimes? In 2016, the NFL stumbled into the culture wars with Colin Kaepernick's protest. The San Francisco 49ers quarterback took a knee during the national anthem to protest racial injustice, sparking a nationwide debate. The NFL's response? They pretended the controversy didn't exist and then blackmailed Kaepernick entirely. Because apparently, standing up for social justice is a bigger offense than orchestrating a bounty program or deflating footballs. By 2017, it was time for the Ezekiel Elliott saga. The Dallas Cowboys running back was accused of domestic violence, leading to a 6-game suspension. The investigation dragged on forever, with everyone arguing about the league's consistency when it came to punishing player misconduct. Spoiler, the NFL still hasn't figured out how to handle these situations. And then 2018 brought us Kareem Hunt. A video surfaced of the Kansas City Chiefs running back assaulting a woman in a hotel, and to no one's surprise, the Chiefs only released him after TMZ leaked the footage.
Well, Kansas City Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt is no longer part of the team. The Chiefs announced that last night. They announced that Hunt had been cut. This comes just hours after a video surfaced appearing to show Hunt shoving and kicking a woman inside of a Cleveland, Ohio hotel back in February.
The message was loud and clear: violence is bad, but bad press is unacceptable. Once again, the NFL proved its knack for caring about optics more than actual accountability. And how can we forget Antonio Brown, the NFL's very own reality TV show in cleats?
Antonio Brown, accused of sexually assaulting a woman who worked as his trainer, all part of a new lawsuit.
Back in 2019, he kicked off the year by demanding a trade from the Steelers because apparently drama is his favorite pregame warm-up. Then he took his talents and his baggage to the Oakland Raiders, and well, that didn't go well. Between freezing his feet in a cryotherapy mishap and throwing tantrums over his helmet, he was having a complete meltdown. But it got darker. Accusations of sexual misconduct piled up, and his off-field antics spiraled into chaos. By the end of the year, every NFL team had collectively decided, you know what, we're good. And the bigger question, how did the league let it get this bad in the first place? The NFL looked at the Antonio Brown saga and said, let's just hope this resolves itself. Newsflash, it didn't. Now on to 2020, when the NFL decided it was time to confront racism because their sponsors told them to.
Your news out of the NFL. A source telling ESPN that Washington's NFL team retiring its controversial nickname.
For years, Native American activists had been calling out the Washington Redskins for their offensive name. The NFL nodded, smiled, and then did absolutely nothing. It wasn't until FedEx and other big money sponsors threatened to leave that they finally acted.
Buckling under pressure after corporate sponsors and backers came out demanding change. Nike and Amazon stopped selling the team's merchandise online. FedEx, who owns the naming rights to the team's stadium behind me, also driving those calls for a change.
Moral of the story? Ethics don't move the NFL, but the fear of losing cash certainly does. By 2021, the NFL was back at it with another mess, this time starring John Gruden, head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
The NFL coach John Gruden is out after a new report found he repeatedly used anti-gay and racially insensitive language in emails.
Emails surfaced revealing his racist, misogynistic, and homophobic comments. Gruden resigned, but the scandal wasn't just about him. It was a mirror to the league's broader culture, which seems stuck in a Mad Men era of toxic masculinity, minus the tailored suits. And while the NFL was still busy sweeping Gruden's scandal under the rug, 2021 also brought the Deshaun Watson saga.
The women accusing Houston Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct.
The Houston Texans quarterback faced multiple lawsuits accusing him of sexual misconduct, mostly involving massage therapists.
Deshaun Watson assaulted and harassed me on March 30th, 2020.
The NFL's response was a mix of let's wait this out and maybe people will forget about it by Sunday. No, we didn't. Oh, but 2021 wasn't done yet. Enter Aaron Rodgers, who made headlines not for his arm, but for his alternative approach to COVID-19 vaccination.
Green Bay Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers speaking out about testing positive for COVID-19 and why he was not vaccinated against the disease.
Rodgers claimed he was immunized, which apparently meant I went to Whole Foods and got some sage. When it came out that he hadn't actually been vaccinated, the backlash was swift, but the NFL did barely anything about it. Rodgers trotted back onto the field, reminding everyone that if you throw a pretty spiral, consequences are optional. Fast forward to Robert Kraft, Patriots owner and six-time Super Bowl champ. Despite all that hardware, he didn't make the Hall of Fame in 2024. Why? Maybe it's the Hall's strict criteria, or maybe it's the lingering stench of his 2019 massage parlor scandal.
Video evidence in the massage parlor case against New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft.
And let's just say that incident didn't exactly scream class and legacy. And finally, we have the Washington Commanders proving once again they just can't stop fumbling, and this time, it was fans' money.
Virginia's Attorney General Jason M.I.A has announced a $1.3 million settlement with the Washington Commanders for unreturned ticket deposits.
In 2024, they agreed to a $1.3 million settlement after accusations of financial mismanagement, including failing to return ticket deposits. Because if there's one thing the Commanders do better than losing games, it's finding new ways to anger their fan base. And just when you thought Aaron Rodgers might chill for 5 seconds, he comes back in 2024 with a Netflix docuseries called Enigma. Rodgers opens up about his life, his career, and naturally his controversial opinions as if we hadn't heard enough of them already. The documentary is basically a masterclass in making you wonder, is he misunderstood or just really exhausting? It's both. It's like the NFL's version of a reality show but with fewer roses and way more eye rolls. And speaking of drama, let's turn to the Buffalo Bills, who apparently decided 2024 was the year to implode spectacularly. First, you've got linebacker Von Miller's arrest, and then head coach Sean McDermott's old controversial remarks surfacing online. Combine that with questions about the team's leadership, and suddenly their Super Bowl hopes feel about as stable as a Jenga store on a windy day. Not to be outdone in the chaos department, the Arizona Cardinals also added in their share. Between Kyler Murray feuding with the front office and head coach Cliff Kingsbury getting fired, the Cardinals were basically a soap opera disguised as a football team. At this point, their strategy seems to involve throwing darts at a board and hoping for the best. And then there's the Las Vegas Raiders, who looked around at all this NFL drama and said, we can do worse. In 2024, the team experienced a mass exodus of front office executives because apparently, the Raiders' organizational strategy is everybody quit at once. Fans were left wondering if anyone was even running the team anymore. Honestly, it's starting to feel like their long-term strategy involves just winging it and hoping Davante Adams catches everything on and off the field. So, how do we fix this never-ending circus? Simple. The NFL needs to grow a backbone. For once, hold people accountable. Set clear, consistent, ethical standards that don't just crumble the second a star player flashes some talent. Because right now, the league is like a bad reality show. You can't look away, but you're also low-key embarrassed to admit you're watching.